Let's go ahead and do this one here. It says use let me erase this guy here. Use the given factor of the polynomial to completely factor the polynomial. Okay, so in other words, they're saying now a factor is a number that already goes into something. Like that x minus 3 times something gives you that answer that's there. So we're going to use synthetic division. Since I have a binomial of degree 1, I'm going to go ahead and use synthetic division. Now remember that you would have to solve for x. So as a side note, you would say, okay, x minus 3 equals to nothing. So x equals positive 3. So the constant I'm going to use is the 3. In other words, it's going to be the opposite of what you see there. If you see a minus in here, in the binomial, you're going to use a positive. If you see a plus, you're going to use a negative. It'll be the opposite because you have to move the number to the other side. So the constant that we're going to work with is x equals 3. All right, let's see if our polynomial is in order. We got x cubed, we got x squared, we got x, we got a number. Perfect. All right, so we're going to use 6, negative 25, 18, and 9. Leave a little space. Remember, bring down the first term, that's 6. Multiply. 3 times 6 is 18 and take it to the top. Again, 3 times 6, 18, take it to the top. All right, so that's going to be 18 right here. Negative 25 and 18 is going to be negative 7. Now multiply 3 times negative 7 and take it to the top. So that'll be negative 21. Remember that if you need to slow down, pause, rewind, you can do that. All right, 18 minus 21 is negative 3. And then, once again, repeat the process. 3 times negative 3 is negative 9, and we take that negative 9 to the top, which happens to be negative 9, and 9 is going to give me a 0. Perfect. See, it had to be remainder 0 because if it's a factor, that means it goes in evenly. All right, so we now have 6x squared. Remember that we started with cubed, so this must be 6x squared minus 7x minus 3. Now they want to completely factor the polynomial, which means that I'm going to take this 6x squared minus 7x minus 3, and I'm going to factor it. They didn't give me another factor, so I'm going to have to factor the remaining part, but I can do that because that's a quadratic. Let's see. I think it might be 3x times x. 3x times 2x. That's going to give me 6x squared. A positive times a negative equals a negative. I'm doing trial and error here, and somehow I'm going to try to put the number so that I can get a negative 7 in the middle. How about a 3 and a 1 like this? I think that's going to do it because 1 times negative 3 is negative 3, and then the outer product, negative 9x, the inner product, positive 2x, that's going to give me my negative 7x. So that's perfect. All right, so it looks like I'm ready to give my answer. My final answer is going to be, they wanted me to factor it completely, so the final answer is the following. This cubic polynomial with 4 terms is the same thing as the factor x minus 3 multiplied with the factor 3x plus 1 multiplied with the factor 2x minus 3. This is how we factor the expression completely. And again, you can go a little slower. I'm going a little faster because of time constraints. I don't want to go too far on these videos. It's going to be 2 parts, by the way. All right, this one right here. It says same thing. Use the given factor to completely factor the remaining polynomial. So here we go. Same instructions, but because I am dealing with a factor that has a coefficient in front, I think I'm going to use long division here. So I'm going to go like this. 6x cubed minus 2x squared minus 16x minus 8. And we go 2x times what gives me 6x cubed. So again, we're trying to find out this first term times what up here gives me this right here, 6x cubed. Well, it's going to be 3x squared. So I'm going to put 3x squared, again multiply. Now 3x squared times this one and 3x squared times this one, and put your answer right here. All right, so we're going to continue then. So it's going to be 6x cubed minus 12x squared. And you have to subtract. You must subtract here, guys. Now the minus carries over to that first one and eliminates. This is going to make it a negative 6x cubed, which cancels that. Perfect, that's what I want. This minus is going to carry over to this one, make it a positive 12x squared, combined with a negative 2x. So it's going to be 10x squared minus 16x minus 8. You bring this down. Now just continue the process. Once again, 2x, the first term, times what gives me 10x squared? Well, I think that's going to be 5, right? So positive 5x. That's going to give me 10x squared minus 20x, and we must subtract. You need to put that in parentheses, guys. That's because every year, year after year after year, students forget to distribute that minus sign. That set of parentheses around that term is going to help remind you to distribute that thing. All right, so the negative 10x squared cancels the positive 10x squared, and this will become a positive 20x minus 16x. That's going to be positive 4x minus 8. All right, last thing. 2x times what gives me 4x? Well, I think it's a 2. So I'm going to put plus 2 here. 2 times 2x is 4x, and 2 times negative 4 is negative 8. You subtract, hey, perfect, that the remainder is going to be 0. So now we're going to take the remaining quadratic expression. Remember, the instructions were to completely factor it. So we're going to factor this out. So we'll have 3x times x. A positive times a positive equals a positive, and then you try to figure out where does the 1 and the 2 go so I can get a 5 in the middle, and it's going to be right here, so that when you do your outer product 3x and your inner product 2x, that gives me the 5x in the middle. So perfect, I think I got my answer. If I want to factor this completely, this polynomial right here, the complete factorization of that would be the 1 that they gave me. They were nice enough to give me 1. And then I had to work a little bit to get the remaining 2. Some of I actually gave you some more challenging ones here. There will be some easier ones to do in your assignment. All right, moving on. We're going to go do this one. It says use polynomial division to determine if the given binomials are factors. All right, if they are going to be factors, that means that it's going to divide evenly with no remainder. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to first use this one. So they gave me this long polynomial. This is the polynomial, and these are the binomials that they want me to test. They want me to check to see if this one and this one or this one divide evenly. Let me go ahead and use a different color here, go red. So I'm going to check this one out first. If I solve for x, I get a value of x equals negative 5. So now I'm going to go ahead and do this. I noticed something right here. The 2 is for the x to the 4th. There's no x cubed. So you have to put a 0 to represent that there are no x cubes. So you have 2x to the 4th, 0x cubed, negative 5x squared, positive 5x's, and negative 2 constants. All right, then you continue here. You bring the 2 down, multiply negative 5 times 2, that's negative 10. Combine those, that's negative 10. Multiply that, that's 50. Combine those, that's 45. Multiply those, okay, that's going to be negative 225. Combine those together, and that's going to be negative 220. Multiply that, that's going to be a positive, that's too big. Let's see, that's 10, 1100, so that's going to be like 1098, I believe. I think that's it. Either way, you don't get a 0. If you don't get a 0 here, that means that there's a remainder, which means that this is not going to be a factor, okay? That's what that means. Now let's go ahead and go test the other one. We're going to go with this one right here. If you solve for x, you get x equals negative 2. And let's do the same thing. 2, 0, negative 5. So all we're doing, guys, is I'm trying to find out if one of these two binomials divides evenly. If it does, then it is a factor. All right, so let's see. Here we go. 2, multiply negative 2 times 2, that's negative 4. Combine those, it's negative 4. Multiply negative 2 times negative 4, that's 8. Combine those, you get 3. Multiply those, you get negative 6. Combine those, you get negative 1. Negative 2 times negative 1 is 2. Oh, perfect. If you get a 0, that means that this one is a factor. So your answer is going to be that x plus 2 is a factor. It says use polynomial division to determine if the given factors are, the given binomials are factors. So you're going to say no to this one, and you're going to say yes to this one. X plus 2 is a factor. All right, we're going to do the same thing. Let's see, time is running. So basically, that's all you're going to do. You're going to use synthetic division to find out if something is a factor or not. I better go on to the next one because I'm looking at the time. If there's time, we'll do that later. If not, we'll just work on it in class, right? All right, use the remainder theorem, also referred to as synthetic substitution, to find f of 5. Okay, let me tell you what this is about. if you put a 5 right there, and if you put a 5 right there, and you work it out, you're going to get a certain answer. Let's check it out. 5 to the third power is 5 times 5 times 5. That's going to be 125. 5 squared is 25 times 2 is going to be 50. If you do the math here, you're going to get, what's this? 125 minus 50, you get 75 minus 1, you get 74. So f of 5 for the first one is a 74. Now, there's something interesting that mathematicians came up with. Now, I have good mental math skills. Some of you may have it as well. I was able to do a little bit of that mentally, just do a little bit of substitution there. But guess what? F of 5 means that if x is equal to 5, okay? If x is equal to 5, what would you get? Well, guess what? If I use synthetic division, there's 1x cubed negative 2x squared. Ooh, do you notice there's no x in there? So you have to put 0 for x and then your constant. All right, again, 1x cubed. So the 1 represents that there's 1x cubed right here. The negative 2 is for the 2x squared. There's no x, so you have to represent it with a 0. And then the negative 1 is your constant. You have to go in order, decreasing order. Check this out. I'm going to do synthetic division here. You're going to say, what for? Just see what happens here. You get 3. You get 15. You get 15. 15 times 5 is 75. And then 75 minus 1, 74. Ooh. F of 5 equals 74. That's a nice little fact. It's called the remainder theorem. So someone actually figured out that when you use synthetic division with a value that you're trying to substitute into a polynomial, the remainder is the same thing as if you had substituted the number into those variables and gotten this answer right here. It's very interesting. I love that theorem. It's neat. If you didn't have a calculator, this is a good little way to kind of speed it up instead of substitute. You saw how even I was substituting 5 times 5 times 5, 5 times 5, 5 times 2, subtract. There's a lot of chance that I can make a mistake there. I can make a mistake here too, but I think the chances of me making a mistake are less here than over there. And I was able to speed up the work. So let's do it one more time here. Let's find f of 5. Find f of 5 using synthetic substitution. They call it synthetic substitution because you're using synthetic division, but it's like if you're substituting the number into the variable. So we're going to put a 5 here. Remember, you don't change the value because the 5, you're finding f of x, and x is 5. So x equals to 5 already. So you don't have to do the reverse like we did on the other one. That's another thing that students get confused with. You do not have to change the value because x is 5. All right, here we go. For this one, it's 2x to the third, negative 3x squared, cubed, 1x squared, negative 3x, and positive 4. I'm going to use synthetic substitution here by using synthetic division. Bring down the 2 because 2 and nothing is 2. 5 times 2 is 10. 10 minus 3 is 7. 7 times 5 is 35. That's going to give me 36 there. All right. 36 times 5. 6 times 5 is 30. Carry the 3. That's 15. That's 18. 180 minus 3 is 177. Uh-oh. Here we go. 5 times 177. Let's see. That's going to be 885. That one, I'll tell you, I did it ahead of time. 885 plus 4 is going to be 889. Okay, so that means that in that one, f of 5 is equal to 889 right there. Okay, and that takes care of this lesson right here, guys. I mean, there's more. We can practice some more in class. I know that I went pretty fast on some of these things. Remember, you can slow me down. You can rewind. You can pause. You can replay the whole video, take down some notes. And of course, we'll see you in class, and hopefully we'll clear up any misconceptions there. All right, guys, we'll see you in class tomorrow or the next day. Bye-bye.